All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to recap the game from last night between the Packers and the Raiders. So I came on yesterday and I talked about how, I thought Jordan Love he's looked okay so far. He's missed some throws. The timing's kind of been off with his receivers. But I said, you know what? I see the talent there, and I feel like, the Packers, they can maybe make a wild card. And I felt confident in saying that they were going to beat the Raiders yesterday because, I just thought the Packers were a better team. And there were some injury concerns going in. Aaron Jones was questionable, and then he ended up getting ruled out. And A.J. Dillon actually, had his best game of the season. He had a touchdown in this game. The Packers' only touchdown in this game. The rest of their points came off of field goals. I just thought the Packers were going to win this game. And what I saw, and I said, listen, the Packers could be a wild card team. But what I saw last night, I was like, what am I watching right now? First of all, the game was just, some of the plays in the game were horrendous. The turnovers on both sides, because Garoppolo had a bad interception too. It was bad. It was really bad. Jordan Love's not the second interception, but the first one and the third one were both terrible throws. The first one, he's looking right at Spillane. Spillane ended up having two interceptions on the day. Former Pittsburgh Steeler. Robert Spillane. I was going to say Anthony Spillane, but Robert Spillane. He actually just had one career interception prior to the game last night, and he ended the game with two more. The first one, Jordan Love was looking right at him, and he threw it right to him. I don't know what he saw on that play, but he threw it directly to Spillane. The second one, he tried to fit it into a tight window. It got deflected, and Spillane picked it off there. And then the third one, the Packers are driving towards the end of the game. And I don't know. Maybe Jordan Love could have took off with it, to get some more yards, to get him closer. But then he just throws it up, and it gets picked off there by Robertson. And that was the end of the game. Now, Christian Watson actually looked like he was open on the play, but Jordan Love threw it to him late. And that's why it got picked off. But it was a rough night for the Packers offense. Overall stats from the game, Jordan Love went 16 of 30 for 182 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions last night for Jordan Love. Packers did run the ball well. A.J. Dillon had 76 yards rushing and a touchdown. Jordan Love had 2 rushes for 37 yards. He had a 26-yard run in the first half. And Christian Watson was their lead receiver. He had 3 receptions for 91 yards. The big one was a 77-yard reception that, honestly, if he didn't get, horse collar tackled, I think he gets into the end zone. And honestly, that was the difference in the game, because that turns into 7 points instead of 3. And we might be having a different conversation. But, yeah, the Packers just all night could not get anything going on offense. Their defense is the reason why they were able to stay in the game. I thought they did an okay job. Devontae Adams really didn't have a big game. Jacoby Myers, they had problems guarding him. He had 7 receptions for 75 yards and a touchdown. Devontae only had 4 for 45. Josh Jacobs had a rushing touchdown. He had a big 24-yard run, but 69 yards rushing overall. So the Packers, they're not a good run. Both teams are bad against the run. But I thought the Packers did an okay job, containing Jacobs for the most part. And Garoppolo really didn't do. He was okay, I guess. 22 of 31, 208 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. His interception was bad too. But yeah, listen, the Raiders, they get a big win there. They protect their home field. Packers, that was just a bad loss. I really don't know what to say. There's a lot of people killing Jordan Love, and listen, I think the talent is still there. We're only 5 games into the NFL season, and I think Jordan Love, I think he still can be good. Now, I went back and I really thought about it, last night after this game. And like I said, I thought the Packers could be a wild card team. But then, I really think about it, and you go through the games this season. So, what was their best game this year of their wins, of their 2 wins? And it was the Bears game. The Bears, who knows what's going to happen because the Bears scored 40 points on Thursday night. And so their season can, turn around and they end up having a decent year. But for me, like I always say, it's a wait and see approach. The Packers won that game 38-20, right? After that, they blow a lead against the Falcons in Atlanta. They lose by a point in that game. They were down 17-0 going into the fourth quarter against the Saints, and they score 18 points, right? And you know what? The reason why they lost that game is because Derek Carr got injured, and Jameis Winston just did not move the ball. So Packers win that game, but Jordan Love did have a very good fourth quarter. Then you go up against the Lions, and he just did not have a good game there at home. And then you have three interceptions against the Raiders, who are not a good defense. So, really, if Derek Carr doesn't get hurt, Packers should be 1-4 right now. And their only win is against the Bears. So, I talk about, this team could be a wild card team. And listen, it's still possible. They have a bye week now, so maybe that can really help them and get themselves, on the right track here. But I don't know. I mean, and it's just the offense really could not get anything going yesterday. And listen, you got to get Aaron Jones back because Aaron Jones, he's their best player on offense. But it was just a bad game all around. Guys were dropping passes. I mean, Romeo Doubs, who's been their leading receiver, he had a couple of drops. One of them was right in his grasp, and he bobbled it and dropped it. So, I don't really know. I mean, I think the defense, they got some injuries. I mean, Devondre Campbell, one of their linebackers, he's missed a few games. So they're hoping to get him back soon. Obviously, you got injuries on the offensive line. I know Elton Jenkins, he played yesterday, so that's good. But you're not going to have Bakhtiari. So they're just going to have to deal with that this year. And that he probably isn't going to be on the Packers moving forward. But we'll see. But yeah, I mean, you look at the Packers so far this year. I mean, they could be 3-2. They could be 1-4. Because I mean, listen, they should have won against the Falcons. I mean, I don't know how that. I really don't understand how they blew that lead. I mean, the Falcons just ran all over them too. But that game they had won. So, and they could have won. Well, I shouldn't say they should have won the game last night, but they could have won the game last night. That game was in their grasp. They had opportunities, but they didn't capitalize on things. They didn't capitalize. They didn't get a touchdown off of that big Christian Watson play. They ended up kicking 3. And Jordan Love just made bad throws. But I think it's too soon to tell if he's the answer or not. I think we got to see how this season plays out. Because I really do see the talent there. And the other thing, too, is the Packers have a very young team. They got 2 young tight ends, a lot of young receivers, young guys on defense. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, there was a stat last night. I don't know what it was. It was the 3rd straight game or something. They're starting 10 or more rookies. It was something like that, they said on the broadcast. It was something to do with 10 rookies, them starting 10 rookies. So they got a very young team. The other thing, too, is Matt LaFleur a good head coach? Is he? Because, I mean, this is the first year without Aaron Rodgers. And ever since he became the head coach of the Packers, they've had very good regular seasons. But is that a product of him, or is that a product? It's a product of Aaron Rodgers. That's what it was. Now, I think his scheming with Aaron Rodgers, I mean, I think that was a very good combination because that won Aaron Rodgers back-to-back MVPs. But now you're going to have some growing pains with this young quarterback. I think Matt LaFleur, when it comes to making adjustments, I mean, you've seen that in big games. I mean, look at the championship games against Tampa Bay and the 49ers. I mean, Mostert ran all over them. And, I mean, the Bucs dominated the Packers for most of that game. And then they started mounting a comeback, but then it was too little, too late. So, I don't know. And Packer fans have complaints with Joe Barry, their defensive coordinator. But, what the defense, I thought, did its job. I mean, it's just the offense couldn't do anything. But, I mean, listen, for the Raiders, though, I mean, I've been talking about the Packers for most of the segment, but for the Raiders, though, I mean, it's a good win for them. This is a good game to get Josh Jacobs going. He's had a good couple of games in a row here. I was surprised how Devontae Adams really was like a non-factor in this game. Like they kept going to Jacoby Myers. Michael Mayer, their tight end, he had 2 big catches in the beginning of the game, and then he didn't get targeted after. Well, he did get one more target. Garoppolo threw a pass to him, and he was wide open, and he missed him. Mayer was diving for it. But yeah, for the Raiders, I mean, they're playing in a tough division. I mean, the defense, I'm not buying into their defense. But Max Crosby is an absolute beast. I mean, he had another sack last night. And that was one of the things that the Packers, I think, were having problems with was Max Crosby. He just was a one-man wrecking crew the whole night. I mean, they were trying so many different things to try to, block him. But, that's their franchise guy right there is Max Crosby. So at least they have him on defense. But again, the defense in general for the Raiders just isn't very good. But that's why I was just so confused with the Packers. Like, you got track stars on offense. Well, not track stars, but you got some fast guys on offense. Christian Watson, I mean, he just missed Christian Watson by a step on a long pass that he threw late in the game. You hit that, I mean, that changes the game right there too. Romeo Doubs, who was their leading receiver going into the game, I mean, he was a non-factor. So, yeah, it was a rough game yesterday for Green Bay. It was a good game for Vegas. So they play the Patriots next week. Packers are on a bye. So hopefully for the Packers, they can get themselves right. But right now, when it comes to the division, it's not a realistic thing. It's the Lions. The Lions are in the driver's seat to win this division. It's going to happen. So, and then as for the Raiders, I mean, we'll see. Listen, they have playmakers on offense. They have some very good players on offense. Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers has been good. Josh Jacobs, who was amazing last year. It's just, I think the conference that they're in, the division they're in, it's going to be an uphill battle for them. But you know what? They'll take that win. They protected their home field, like I said. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But, yeah, so that's pretty much it when it comes to the second part of the show here. So when we come back from our second break, we are now going to talk about, since I just said the Raiders' opponent for next week, we're going to talk about what is wrong with the Patriots. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.